Welcome to episode 93 of Shame Talks. We're getting closer and closer to the end, boys and girls. We are coming up on episode 99 really soon. But tonight, I am joined by the greatest co-host in the history of podcasting, Mr. Jason L. Mayer.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
And joining us tonight also, we're not going to do a Troy Talks mid episode because we have Mr. Troy Myers on for another entire episode. What's up, Troy? How you been for the last 2 weeks?
Here.
You're here. I appreciate that, man.
You're welcome.
So yeah, we are going to talk a lot about music this episode. The majority of this episode is going to be talking about music. But before we get into music, we are a podcast about movies and entertainment and stuff like that. So let's just start with that. Anybody seen any movies recently that you want to talk about? Like Jason, you seen anything recently you want to talk about?
I can't remember the last time we talked about stuff, but what did I last see? Oh, we talked about Deadpool and Wolverine the last time we were recording, I believe.
We did, yeah.
The only thing I've got since then that besides the quasi kind of cute family movie Harold and the Purple Crayon, which was kind of silly. And yes, we went as a family to go see that.
Nice.
The only other thing that I've seen lately was Alien Romulus.
Oh
So
yeah, I went and saw that with you. It was enjoyable. It's my third favorite Alien movie. How'd you feel about it?
yeah, it's pretty much right in the middle. Alien's still number one overall. And then Alien following that really closely. And then it's a tough call, man. Like all the prequel crap that Ridley Scott did, it's better than those movies.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's better than Alien 3 for me, but it's definitely better than Alien 4. So
Hmm. Troy, did you see Alien Romulus? Did the
Nope.
can play Alien Romulus? No.
You want to hear something wild, man?
What's
I have
wild?
never seen one Alien movie.
Is that all by choice? Like, are you purposely
no,
avoiding
it's by choice.
It's by
This like
choice.
all the stuff that he's watched, it has to be a conscious effort to not go watch an Alien movie.
I mean, well, I'm not gonna jump in like to Alien Romulus without like seeing like the original Alien or whatever, right?
You should go watch the original.
Yeah, who's got time for all that shit though? It's just like no,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. Well, if you haven't seen Alien Romulus or any of the Alien movies, then what has Troy watched recently that he wants to chat about?
That's a really good question. Clearly the answer is nothing.
Okay.
um, yeah, no, yeah, I just haven't seen anything that I've really liked lately. Like
Okay.
I feel like I could be in like this very like hyper judgmental mood, and it could just be like I'm just kind of going through like a couple weeks where I'm just like nothing I see is gonna please me. But like I really haven't seen anything I liked like recently, and
Right
nothing I
on.
really want to give a shout out to. So
Did
yeah,
did the can play Strange Darling?
no,
No. Okay. Because I saw Strange Darling last week, and I thought it was one of the best things I've seen in a long time. Like it's a horror movie, and not like a horror movie. It's like a thriller killer movie, but it's done non-linear. It's done super artsy. Like it would have played at like remember how we talked about Long Legs recently and how Long Legs was kind of like weird and very artsy and whatnot. It's in the same vein as like Long Legs, like the way the movie is made. It would have played at Castleton Arts back in the 90s and like 1999 Shane would have like loved this movie. Like it would have been like one of my favorite movies of that year. I really enjoyed it when I saw it a couple of weeks ago. It's like I said, it's a thriller that's told non-linear, so you kind of have to piece together. It does a lot of um, it uses a narrative storytelling technique that makes you not understand what you're actually watching, and so you kind of have to piece together like what's going on. I really enjoyed that part of it. It was very bonkers, very like it's set modern, but it kind of tried to have like a feel of like a 70s grindhouse kind of movie to it, like just the way like the opening is shot and stuff like that. So it's cool. I really liked Strange Darling. I was curious if it was gonna play at the Can because it, like I said, it's like a super artsy thriller type movie. So I don't know. I think Troy might enjoy the way that it's structured if you ever get around to watching it.
Yeah, I might.
The only other thing that I saw recently, Jason, I don't know if maybe this just didn't make your list or if you haven't made time for it yet, but we've talked about The Instigators a lot.
Oh yeah, I did watch that.
That was garbage. That was literally like Netflix level, poor quality, not well written, not enjoyable characters, really dumb plot. I suffered through that movie, and I loved the cast. Absolutely hated that movie. How'd you feel about it?
It definitely leaves a lot to be desired. Um, I thought I was hoping for more from the trailer. It almost felt like it could be like the joking level or the slapstick level of like an Ocean's movie.
Sure.
Whereas I don't feel like they never get to that tone. It didn't work overall. It was just blah. Ron Perlman was like
Yeah.
I like you don't mind when somebody overdoes things sometimes, but like his overdoing it in that movie didn't work at all for me. Um,
And
but
Ving
yeah,
Rhames was so like underutilized for what he could have done in the role they had him in.
yeah,
I- like he could have taken that character to another level and been far superior than just the very blah performance that we got from him in that role.
I totally agree.
Like,
So
what is up with Doug Lyman? Like Doug Lyman either does absolutely amazing movies or just complete garbage. I was very disappointed in the movie for how much I like Doug Lyman and how much I enjoy the cast. Like very, very tough to get through. I'm assuming Troy didn't watch it.
No, man, I don't even know what it is.
Casey Affleck and Matt Damon, and it's directed by Doug Lyman. It's written by Casey Affleck, which is disappointing. And then like Ben and Matt produced the movie, so that's disappointing. Like
Oh,
everything about the movie was a disappointment. Are you a
so
Doug Lyman fan at all, Troy, at any level?
am I what?
A Doug Lyman fan?
I mean, I
Swingers,
like Swingers and Go. Um, I've also never seen a Bourne movie. Um, I'm trying to think, what else has Doug Liman directed? I know
he did Edge of Tomorrow, which I really like.
that's the Tom Cruise movie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw that. I felt like he directed something recently that I was like, oh, that was all right. Oh, he did the Roadhouse remake with
Oh, you're right. He did.
fucking
That's right.
Jake Gyllenhaal. Yeah, I liked that.
I we've talked about it on the podcast before. I literally just wish the movie would have been called The Bouncer, and I would have
I
liked it
mean,
100 times more than trying to convince me that this is a spiritual sequel to the original Roadhouse. Like,
I
no.
mean, it has
Like,
the exact same fucking plot as Roadhouse.
sure,
So I mean,
just call it The
we're
Bouncer,
gonna
give
get
him a
around
different
that.
name. Uh,
No, I liked it. It was cool, dude. Like, you just got to get. Anytime Conor McGregor spoke, the movie took like a downturn. But other than that, man, that was awesome, dude. Jake Gyllenhaal rules.
man, overall the movie was not bad. It wasn't something terrible. I just wish it wasn't trying to be Roadhouse.
Yeah, he did not need to. He didn't need the name Dalton. They didn't need
No.
the name Roadhouse. They literally same exact movie. Just call him John Smith and name it The Bouncer, like Shade said, and you got it. The movie itself will I'd probably like it more than I did. So
No, man, they should go the other way and just make fucking make this like 007 for fucking rednecks. And it's like every great actor gets their chance to go like shoot steroids and get in shape and like go to some fucking like gross bar and just kick ass. Like, oh yeah,
and it's
dude.
every single one of them is called Dalton, and they're
Yeah,
like,
they're all Dalton. Like, it's like Roadhouse. It's like, oh, which Roadhouse? And you're like, oh, the one with fucking like Steve Urkel or the one with fucking like whoever, like I don't even fucking know. Like, just anybody. Anybody can do a Roadhouse. Like, that'd be fire.
Okay. Okay. I
all of a
mean,
sudden Tom Holland comes in more ripped than normal, and he's
Tom Holland, man, like we can get Lady Roadhouse, you know what I mean? Like fucking whatever, dude. Like it's
some
gonna
Ronda
be good.
Rousey in.
Oh man, it could be even something like Anna Kendrick could just like go shoot roids for like 3 weeks and like just come into Florida and start whipping ass. Like
Okay. I like it. I'm down for it. Like fuck it. With the shit that Hollywood's given us recently, why not? Like let's just do
just
it. Let's
make it R007, dude.
I appreciate that. Well, Troy, is there anything coming up soon that you're interested in? Like we used to call this segment coming attractions, and coming attractions would be what's coming out, like let's say between now and the end of the year that you're actually looking forward to. You got a movie on your radar?
Like I'm sure I should probably know this more than I should, but like I am so lazy these days. Like I really am just like, oh, is it playing? It's like I'll go see it. Um, like if it's at the can, I'll go see it. If it's not, I won't. I don't know. I know they've shown previews for movies. I kind of want to see the Florence Pugh, Andrew Garfield, like he gets hit
Yes.
by a car, she gets cancer movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that
Yeah,
trailer looks okay. I can't remember what it's called. Yeah, that trailer looks okay.
the Shape of Our Life or some bullshit,
Uh,
like something opaque like that. That's not it. Like, but it's like something, you know,
sure.
the color of things, or it's just like, yeah, fuck, I can't even remember the speed of velocity or whatever. Like,
Something along those lines.
yeah, yeah. Like I kind of want to see that. I kind of want to see the Substance, that Demi Moore movie that looks fucking wild.
I don't know if I've seen that preview.
A
It's got like,
fading celebrity decides to use a black market drug, a cell replicating substance that temporarily creates a younger, better version of herself.
Like, what do you mean by creates a temp? Like the same person just becomes younger, or like does
yeah,
it actually
kind
make
of.
like a clone of them?
Dog, I don't even know,
Oh, okay, okay,
but the trailer
interesting.
looks
I'll have to watch that trailer.
insane.
Okay,
Yeah, the
I don't know anything
Substance.
about that.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool.
Okay.
Uh, fuck. Other than that, man, like the Can is showing a retrospective showing of Paris, Texas, the Vin Vendors movie with like
Oh,
Harry Dean Stanton and
was
fucking
that 99 or was that
Pete Stockwell.
2000?
Oh my god, that was like 1983, 1984. Like it was like a really early one. Uh,
What
fucking
Texas movie am I thinking of from?
You're thinking of the one
Whatever.
that played at Castleton Arts, and it was like something Texas population.
Oh,
oh,
Happy
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 Texas.
Texas. Happy Texas.
Yeah,
Sorry, Happy
that's a
Texas is what I
Steve
was thinking.
Zahn. To
Yes,
compare
yeah.
those two things is just like sad.
So what's the other Texas movie?
Paris, Texas,
No,
the
no, the one you're
fucking
talking about.
Happy Texas
Happy Texas. Okay. My bad.
with
Sorry
Steve
about that.
Zahn. It's also Artie, I'm sure. It's right up there with Saving Silverman insofar as Oscar quality work that was misunderstood.
I see. So back to Happy Texas. What's up with Happy Texas? Why is it getting a retrospective?
No. Happy
Paris,
Texas.
Texas. Ah, you're such
Happy
an idiot,
Texas is the one that came
dude.
out like 99,
Like,
2000.
man, like I appreciate your attempt to filibuster me. Like, it's cool, dude. Let's just move on. Jason, what are you looking forward to?
I'm gonna probably steal Shane's right now,
No,
but
you're going to, aren't you?
I
Kevin
probably am.
Smith?
What?
Kevin Smith?
No. Okay.
Oh,
I'm good with
oh,
4:30. I'm gonna say Saturday night. It looks
oh.
interesting.
Man, you know me in biopics, man. Like I will watch it because
It's
obviously I,
Reitman,
I
man. It's Reitman, and we don't know anything that
yeah,
knows. This could all just be fictionalized anyway, and it's not real what happened at all.
that's
So,
true. I mean,
so
granted, I'm not saying I won't watch it. I will definitely watch it. You're right. It's Jason Reitman, and like it's a bunch of it's a bunch of actors, the real life Saturday Night Live people that I care about. So I will watch it to see how it plays out. But I mean, biopics just don't have a good track record with me. So I will watch it. I'm not excited about it. The one I thought you were about to steal from me was the 4:30 movie, the Kevin Smith movie that's coming out soon. That I'm really excited about because like I mean, obviously, I get excited for everything that Kevin Smith does, but like the fact that it's like a movie about kids at a movie theater, like I know they're not working there, but like I mean, I'm sure there will be shenanigans with employees of the movie theater. So like, and I mean, it's set in the 80s. Like it's going to be all kinds of crazy nostalgia for me, like all like 80s movie theaters stuff like that. Like I'm very pumped and excited for that one. Was there anything else on your list, Jason?
Uh, you know, I like the first one. The second one's not the greatest, but why not? I'll go see Sonic the Hedgehog 3 with my boys. They love
Oh,
those
okay.
movies. That trailer just dropped yesterday,
Yeah, I
I
haven't
think.
watched it yet.
So that's the other one that I'm kind of like, oh, that'd be kind of fun to go watch.
Does that
So
come out this year?
December, it's right around
December?
Christmas.
Cool. Nice.
So
Very cool. So like I said, we are a podcast about fictional stuff, about movies mainly and stuff like that. And we are going to talk about music here in the next few minutes, but like let's meld those two things together real quick and let's talk about fictional music. Let's talk about bands from fictional movies, or I guess television shows. But I got a list of fictional bands from movies, and I want to know if you guys would be interested in seeing these fictional bands in concert. Like, is this a like some of these bands, like we don't even know what the music is really like. Like it's just bands that we know of from movies. But like I want to know if you would go see, let's start with the Max Rebo band. If the Max Rebo band was playing at the Vogue, would Jason Mayer buy a ticket?
I don't remember the Max Rebo band.
Max Rebo band is the big blue guy that's playing in Jabba's palace.
Probably not.
Okay, Troy, have you ever seen Star Wars Return of the Jedi?
I'm sure I have.
I'm assuming you have no interest in the Max Rebo band. We will move on. Jason, would you go watch Spinal Tap in concert?
Sure.
Troy?
Yeah, I'd probably go watch Final Tap in concert.
All right. What about the Blues Brothers, Jason? Would you go to a Blues Brothers show?
That's a definite yes.
Okay, Troy?
Isn't one of them dead? But yeah, I would go if they were there. I would just be like, oh, that's cool.
This is a hypothetical question about a fictional band that doesn't exist.
Ooh,
One's a zombie, one's still
under that
alive.
under that hypothetical situation, I would go watch a live reading of the Tommy Boy script.
I would too. I'd 100% be in for that. Jason, what about Eddie and the Cruisers?
I've never seen these movies.
Oh, okay. I only like the first one. The second one's kind of dumb, but
I like
um,
Eddie and the Cruisers. I like
do
that
you?
song.
Yes, On the Dark Side by John Beaver and the or John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. What about Citizen Dick? Jason, would you go watch Citizen Dick?
Who's Citizen Dick?
I mean, it's
Singles.
essentially Pearl Jam. What's that?
I was in singles, right?
Singles, yeah,
And Matthew Dillon is in it.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'd go see Citizen Dick.
Troy?
I didn't know he was Matthew Dillon now. He's just like so serious. Like fucking Sir Matthew
It's also, I was like, Matt Dillon, Matthew Dillon, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Troy, Citizen Dick on your radar?
That's the same Matthew Dillon from There's Something About Mary, right? Like that guy.
Oh, you
So,
can't call them retards.
oh, dog, so prestigious. So prestigious.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I probably wouldn't go see Citizen Dick. I don't. Eddie Vedder's not my guy.
Oh, okay, all right. Jason, what about Crucial Taunt
sure. I'd go see Crucial Taunt.
for the lead singer alone, right? Troy, what about you with Crucial Taunt?
On this crucial taunt.
Wayne's World, Tia Carrera's band.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I guess probably.
Okay. I think we may have potentially lost Jason. Jason's back. Cool. Not frozen anymore. Jason, would you go watch the Lone Rangers?
Yes, I would go see the Lone Rangers.
Cool. Troy, what about you?
Was that in Airheads?
Yes.
Airheads, correct.
No, I wouldn't go see those guys, man. Those
Well,
guys
you're
are
a
weak.
dick. Well, and I just realized one that I don't have on the list that I need to ask about. Would either of you guys go see Wild Stallions in concert? Yes. Troy,
Oh
what about
yeah,
you? Would you
I would
go?
totally go. I would totally go
Fuck yeah.
see them. I'd go see the Wonders.
The Wonders was my next one to ask about. Jason, I'm assuming you're
Uh,
a Wonders fan.
yeah, yeah, that
Sure.
song's great. That song is fantastic.
What
That's a
about
good movie too.
Sex Boom?
Is that from Scott Pilgrim?
Yep.
I just recently watched that movie. I hated the music in that movie.
Oh, all right, okay.
So
That
no,
sounds
I
like
would not go watch that. Even though I love Michael
Jason would
Cera,
go.
no.
No, all right, cool. And then the last one that I've got on my list, obviously a band that I would love to go see live in concert. Jason, are you a Stillwater fan?
Yeah, I would go
Yeah,
see one.
nice. Troy, what about you? You a Stillwater fan?
Yeah, of course, man.
Awesome. Very
Now,
cool.
my
So I'm
question
sure
is,
I forgot about some. Yeah, yeah, what I forget.
why did Du jour not make this list?
Oh shit, sure. I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't thinking about boy band pop groups, but yes, de jour, as long as they were double headlining with Josie and the Pussycats, I'd be down for that. Troy, you had mentioned one from a television show,
The Heights.
The
How do you talk
Heights.
to an angel?
Yes, and I do absolutely love that song. I need to find a way to watch that TV series, an Aaron Spelling show that I knew nothing about until we were talking about it earlier. Zack Attack. What about Zack Attack? I know you guys have had a Saved by the Bell conversation before. Would either of you guys go see Zack Attack?
Oh,
Yeah, probably would. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, Kelly Kapowski up on stage.
Ooh,
Sure.
yeah,
what if they double headlined it with Jesse and the Rippers? Are you guys Jesse and the Rippers fans?
yeah, dude. I love Stamos for life. That guy's amazing.
Nice. All right. Did I forget anything else? Is there any other bands that I didn't think of?
I would love to have Love Burger well done personally.
Oh well, yes, from Can't Hardly Wait. I forgot all about that one. Well done. Love Burger would be cool. Troy, what else
Uh,
am I forgetting?
whatever the name of the band from Eurotrip that was fronted by Matt Damon is, well, Scotty doesn't know. I would go
I,
see them in concert.
I don't know the name of the band, but that would be hilarious.
That would be
Well
fun.
done. All right. Well, that was a lot of fun talking about some fictional bands. Since we're having Troy on for the whole show and there is no official Troy's halftime talk or Troy's talk or whatever the fuck we call it nowadays, Troy, I want to turn it over to you for a few minutes. You got any topics you want to discuss? Any way you want to steer this conversation with us? Anything you just want to ramble about? What's up? What's up? What's on Troy's mind this month?
Um, Not really. Really into watching the U.S. Open right now. Um, really into playing some tennis. I'm really into playing some pickleball. Those things can coexist in the world. Uh, Other than that, like, let's just move on.
That's cool. I guess we will get on to the bulk of what we are going to talk about on this episode, which are bands from the 90s. Um, Jason and I, like 2 weeks ago, I finally fulfilled a dream of mine for the last 25 years, and I got to go see the band Creed live in concert. I have missed them every time they had come to Indianapolis in the last 25 years. Finally got to check that off my bucket list of life, and it was an absolutely amazing show. I had such a wonderful time. They played all of the songs that I wanted them to play. They performed really well. I had a blast. Jason, what were your thoughts and feelings on the show? Did you have a good time? I mean, you had the greatest company possible, but it was a great bro date night that we had. I absolutely loved my date that night. But as far as the concert goes, did you have a good time?
Concert was fine. It was, you got a lot of people, what, 20,000 people singing along with almost every single word.
Mhm.
Um, I told you this, Shade, and I don't want to crap on your love of Creed too much, but uh, I thought that they could have done a little. It felt like we just hit play on the CD of their greatest hits and got to listen to that, and there wasn't a whole lot of variations on much. It wasn't a bad show. I've seen bad shows, and I would not even put this anywhere near a bad show. They performed their music and they did it well, but that was all I got. They improv for like what 30 seconds at some point in time, I think, on in one of their songs where a guitar solo went a little bit longer than it normally does. But besides that, I it was a good show, just not one of my favorites, but I appreciate that I got to go see it with you and what's up,
I
Troy?
I appreciate you being my
So,
date, man. What's up, Troy?
question, Jason. So you would not go see Creed again, correct? Like, is that what I'm gathering from what you're saying?
I'd go see him again if like a group of us were like going, or Shane was
So
like,
no.
come on, and I'd be like, yeah, I'll go. But
Yeah. So basically under peer pressure. Um, okay. However, would you go see Creed again if Creed and Nickelback went on tour together, and instead of playing their songs, each band played the other band's songs? Would you go see Nickelback play Creed and Creed play Nickelback? I think the answer is yes.
that would be quite the entertainment for an evening, that's for sure. So
You're
I would
welcome.
I'd put that
You're
on.
welcome, Creed.
So
Don't
Not the end of
even
those
know how to.
royalties.
I don't even know how to process that. I don't even know. And while my brain does not figure that out, I'm going back to what Jason said, because out of everybody that's asked me how the concert went, like there's obviously something cathartic about music, and there's obviously something about music that like you love, and I love all of Creed. I love the majority of Creed's music. But like you said, like being in the arena or being in Deer Creek and having 20,000 people all singing along at the same time, like that's just like a level of like spiritual musical catharticism that like I got to experience with Creed. Like I mean, I've experienced it with other, like we've gone to the Goo Goo Dolls and I've experienced it, or like we've seen Jimmy Eat World and I've experienced it. Like, but there was just something about how much I love this band and their music and being a part of that. Like it was like probably the only other show that I could compare it to is when I went and saw Pearl Jam in like 2005. Like it was so long ago, but like I remember I went over to Cincinnati with my friend Dave and we watched them in Cincinnati, and it was one of those experiences where like, and I'm sure that's what Pearl Jam was like a couple of nights ago when they played at Deer Creek also. Like I'm sure that's what the vibe still is to this day. But like those are the only two shows that I've ever been to that I've had that similar type of feeling coming out of the show. Um, so yeah, and we were kind of just started talking about my four, so I'm just going to go into my four. What I had asked originally on the Shane Talks Facebook group was for the four bands from the '90s that defined you. The majority of the people that we talk to and hang out with and are a part of this community are all people that grew up in the '90s, like born in the '80s, grew up in the '90s. We all listened to '90s music. We all grew up with '90s music. I am still super nostalgic. I'm super nostalgic for '80s and '90s music. '80s music because it's what I listened to when I was growing up as being like the generation before me, but then the '90s are the bands that like I grew up with. Like a lot of the stuff I listened to in the '90s from the '80s was like, oh, this is from before me. A lot of the stuff from the '90s is stuff that we all grew up with. And so that's why I kind of wanted to know like what were the bands that you feel defined you as you were growing up and becoming who you are today through, teenage eyes and ears. We've already talked about Creed, went into a lot of stuff about them. What I told you guys I wanted us to do with these is when we picked out our four bands is to pick your favorite song from each one of those bands to talk about. So like Creed obviously has a bunch of stuff that I really like. And it's odd because I was assuming that I was going to pick a song from their Human Clay album, which was the album that came out in '99. But my actual favorite Creed song is a song from their Weathered album called One Last Breath. It's one of their like not rocky songs. It's a lot like more mellow, but I absolutely love it and the way it sounds and stuff like that. So that's my favorite Creed song. My second band that I picked was the Goo Goo Dolls. I'm obviously a huge fan of them, seen them in concert a couple of times. Um, and the Goo Goo Dolls also have just tons of hits. Name, Naked, Slide, Iris, Dizzy Up the Girl's the name of an album. But my favorite Goo Goo Dolls song, I ended up picking Black Balloon, which is off of the Dizzy Up the Girl album. I love the guitar parts of that song. Again, kind of not a rocky song, but just kind of like a mellow, chill song of theirs that I really like. My third band that I grew up caring a lot about would be Pearl Jam, who we also just talked about a little. I talked about a couple of seconds ago. My favorite Pearl Jam album, even though I will admit that 10 is probably their best overall album, Vitology was the one that I listened to in high school, and I really dug Better Man off the Vitology album. And then my fourth band that I loved growing up would be the Foo Fighters. Huge fan of theirs. And oddly, I was expecting to pick a song off of There's Nothing Left to Lose because that was the late 90s album that had like a whole bunch of hits on it. But actually, from The Color and the Shape, the song My Hero, and I think because My Hero was used in a lot of movies, is probably why I really just, yes, it's in Varsity Blues. Yeah, like, yes. So like I think My Hero and just kind of like my emotional connection to like movies and stuff like that is why that one kind of stands out with me for that. So those are my four bands that I grew up with. They would be my Mount Rushmore of 90s music and whatnot. Let's go ahead and ask Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, what would be your four bands from the 90s that you
So
idolized or grew up with?
I'm gonna comment here before we move on.
Let's do it.
So I've got three out of my four picked completely. The fourth one is kind of like he technically started in 99, but he didn't get a record deal until 2000. But I was getting crap because of the fact that I decided I wanted to pick Rush because I really got into them in the 90s. But like it was pointed out they're a 70s band who wrote and just kept rotating and so I took Rush and I'm pushing them off my list because they're not a 90s band. Van Halen, the same thing, right? Like I was totally into Van Halen in the 80s and the 90s. I got into them more so once we
If
were
you will call them Van Hagar, yeah, I'll give you the 90s. That's
see,
fine.
Van Hagar is better than Van Halen for me personally, just
Ooh, that's
because
a hot take.
I do not like David, and David Lee Roth was good. I'm sorry, I don't dislike him. I just think
He's your native,
I think
David
Sammy
Lee
Hagar
Ross. Thank you very much.
he's a Sammy Hagar is a superior singer. So just off of his chops and being able to hit the notes that he does, yeah, he's better than David Lee Roth. Yes, I don't care if you want to make that a hot take or not. Um, so
Side
Van
note about
Hagar,
that, we just talked about how we went and saw Creed together, and a group of us are going to see Van Hagar this weekend, so
we're
that will
not
be
seeing Van
exciting.
Hagar, we're seeing Sammy Hagar in the circle, but it's okay, Shane. I'll forgive you for that.
He's
So
gonna
anyway,
play a bunch of Van Halen music.
this is true. This is true. So we're throwing Van Halen, we're throwing Rush away. I'm going to start off with a quintessential '90s band, essentially that everybody got into for the most part. Maybe even Troy got into them. Is Counting Crows. My favorite album, literally August and everything after, and can spin that at any point in time and listen to it forever. My favorite song off of that album is A Murder of One. It's
Okay.
just it's the closer on the album and by far my favorite of theirs. Second up, I'm gonna, you know, and it's probably just because of that time frame and being in school and everybody kind of getting into them around the same time. But Carter Buford's drumming is something that's way above and beyond on a lot of people. And
Don't say what you're gonna say.
I,
Don't
I'm
say what
gonna
you're gonna
I'm gonna
say.
say Dave Matthews Band,
Oh my
and
god.
so
Fuck.
I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna go Under the Table and Dreaming,
Okay.
uh, and then
I'm a big Ants Marching fan. That's probably my favorite Dave Matthews song.
I was number 34
Oh,
that
the
album.
two ants are marching.
You got me into his solo album, so knock it off. You gave me those that album, and you were like, "Jay, this is so much better than all of his Dave Matthews stuff at his solo album." But um, I have to stick to this '90s group. So, like I said, I'm gonna go Under the Table and Dreaming in number 34.
Okay.
It's just a solid number. So, go ahead. What are you gonna say, Troy?
It's just Dave Matthews, bro.
Understood. Next up, I you know me, I'm a mainstream guy for the most part. I do enjoy the art stuff every now and then. But as far as things go, gotta go with Sister Hazel. They're still one of my favorite bands of all time. I have a lot of fun listening to them. But then as far as the
What's
song,
the Sister Hazel banger?
well, that's all for you. Everybody's into that. Like
Yep.
that's the big one for everybody. But for me, is the song "Happy," and it's from the same album
Oh,
that "All for You" is on. Somewhere more familiar, and came out in '96. But yeah, so that's my list, which is hilarious because so here we are debating on whether if you're a '90s band or not, right? And Shane gets away with the Goo Goo Dolls, who like the first time they ever came out was like '85 or '86. So like that's not
Oh,
even technically a '90s band if we're gonna follow these rules.
I was
Make
gonna
them
give you like Van
arbitrarily.
Halen. Like I was gonna give you Van Halen. I would give somebody Aerosmith, but like Rush,
You gotta
Rush
you're
were
gonna give
not.
you're gonna give somebody Aerosmith. Dream On was like a huge hit. And that was in
Yeah,
the
so was like Crying When I Met You and all the videos with Alicia Silverstone.
yeah,
Like,
but those were
yeah,
in the '90s at least.
yeah.
Dream
I
On
mean,
was like way earlier than that.
yeah, but like Rush put out an album in the '90s that like Rush fans listened to. Like Aerosmith were like, "Hey, dude, we're on MTV." Van Halen were like, "We're on MTV."
Okay.
Rush were like, we're not on MTV." And I'm like, "Yeah, you weren't on MTV, dog. And if you weren't on MTV, dude, you weren't in the '90s."
Okay. If we're going that route, then this one would definitely Van Hagar. We'll go Van Hagar instead. Would definitely trump my other
Now,
choice. My other choice was going to be John Mayer just because I dig him so much. But I definitely think Van Hagar has definitely a step over on John Mayer for me personally. And then as far as things go, what did you just say? It sounded like you sang like a little riff there, Troy.
I was like, right now, there's
That's
no
that's good.
tomorrow.
That's almost right. Like Shane has that Crystal Pepsi like motif going on in his brain at all times whenever he
yep,
hears that. For me,
yep.
with that band, it is by far Dreams from the
Oh,
51
okay.
album. So that would be my choice. But like I said, that's technically not late '80s, not early '90s. So
Bro, but I mean, you're right about the Goo Goo Dolls, and that's my bad. But I mean, like the Goo Goo Dolls put out like a '92 album, a '95 album, a '98 album, like a early 2000s album. Like they were still making brand new music then. Like I don't know. I mean, yeah, I
So there's my four. There's my four. You got Van Hagar with Dreams. You've got Sister Hazel with Happy. You've got Dave Matthews with number 34, which is an instrumental, and then you have A Murder of One by Counting Crows. So
so Jason, real quick, let's see, place it back. I want you to give the over or the under at 2.5 of if I've heard of how many bands Troy is about to name.
oh, it's under. It's got to be
Under.
under.
All right, under. All right, Troy. I'm excited to hear your list of bands in the 90s that made Troy who Troy was. What's the first one?
All right, well, man, see that's the thing. Like, I did not like go about this necessarily the way that like we probably should have. Like, these are
These
more like
words do not
story.
surprise me. These
These,
words don't
these,
surprise me in any way.
these are going to be more like stories,
Okay, let's
like
do it.
just like things that kind of like remind me of like places in my life and the bands that like revolved around them. And we're going to talk about them for a minute. Like,
I
you
like it.
mentioned Pearl Jam earlier, right?
Yep.
Um, I was kind of like an early adopter to Pearl Jam. Like, like I got on like right at like 10, like when I
Hmm.
was like 1992, whenever the fuck that thing dropped. Like I was in like seventh grade. And I remember like for whatever reason, like we had a really large lawn in Noblesville at that point, and we had the riding lawnmower, and for whatever reason, that was kind of like what I put in the tape, the cassette player, like whenever I did that. And so I always kind of like associate them with like work. And like I
Okay.
feel like to this day I hold that against Pearl Jam. But the real thing that I hold against Pearl Jam is because like I didn't really like Nirvana either.
Oh,
Okay.
Um, but like the thing that I hold against Pearl Jam is like Did you ever hear that fucking Temple of a Dog album?
Yep.
Dude, fucking like Chris Cornell like takes Eddie Vedder outside the back of the woodshed and just beats the living dog shit out of him vocally, man. Chris Cornell could fucking wail. And this is not something that I appreciated in the 90s, but it's something that I appreciate much more now. The two best bands of the grunge era were Soundgarden and Stone Temple Pilots. And it was only because those two dudes could fucking wail.
Who was
And I will
STP's lead singer?
Scott Weiland.
Scott Weiland. Yeah, thank you.
I will fucking lean on that till the day I die. Like Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, STP.
So are those two out of your four?
No, that's just a story.
No.
That's it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
story number one.
Okay, cool.
Can't talk about the 90s without talking about grunge. So there's my take on grunge.
Cool. But none of those bands that you just talked about are on your list.
No, man.
No? Okay, cool.
Nope.
I like the journey he's taken us on.
Yeah, I like it too.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. It's keeping me on my toes because I thought I was about to have two out of the four that I knew.
No.
No.
Okay, so band number one on my list.
Yeah.
Of bands in the 90s. I spent like a year trying to find this song. It was on. They were a band that played on a television show called My So-Called Life. I don't know if you remember this show.
Yeah, I remember that show.
It launched the career of Claire Danes,
Mhm.
Jared Leto, for
Leto.
better or worse.
Wasn't it like the first MTV television show too? Like
no, it was actually on ABC.
Oh, that's right. You're right.
It was on ABC on like Wednesday night. They ran it against Party of Five in the same season, right? Or no. What had happened was they originally ran it on Thursday nights against Friends in its first year, right? So like it got the living dog shit beat out of it, ratings wise. They tried to move it to Wednesday night, but Party of Five had already kind of like dug in that slot, and so they killed it after like a season and like 8 episodes or something like that. But during one of the episodes, where Jared Leto and Claire Danes like have their kind of like pseudo connection, a band called Buffalo Tom plays at their like little bar or whatever that they go to, their little hangout. Buffalo Tom were a band from Boston. They were like in that lineage of like bands like fucking like the Lemonheads and like kind of like those like rootsy Americana songs. And I looked forever to try and find the song that they played. And it turns out it was buried at the end of an album somewhere. Like it wasn't even like a hit. It was not like a thing. And in that day, there was no Shazam. There was no internet that I could fucking look up. I literally had to go to like Blockbuster Music and try and fucking shuffle through, like let me open Buffalo Tom albums, listen in the little listening pod. And so like, yeah, dude, I will forever forget. Or I will forever never fucking not be indebted to the Buffalo Tom experience.
Did you ever buy any Buffalo Tom albums?
Oh yeah, fucking Red Letter Day is like that's like one of the best albums of the 90s.
Okay.
Like it's so fucking good.
We're at 0 of how many Troy bands I know.
All right, so Buffalo Tom is on there.
Okay. I want to comment on one thing really quick with that. The exact same scenario, literally almost, was August and Everything After came out, right? Counting Crows. And after that came out, a song got released called Einstein on the Beach.
Oh yeah.
Literally, they would play it all the time on the radio. I called the radio stations multiple times, like, hey, which album is this on? They were like, August and Everything After. And I'm like, no, it's not. I bought the album. I know, like, and I went
DGC rarities.
We went, and so that came out in what, 1993 is when August and Everything After came out, right? It wasn't until the year 2000. I was sitting at a Denny's with employees from the General Cinema Greenwood, and we were all hanging out at Denny's after we closed the theater down. and I was talking about that, like somebody said something, and I was like, oh, there's this one fucking song I can't find anywhere. And this one girl, she was just, her name was Holly. She was like, what song are you looking for? And I said, Einstein on the Beach. And she was like, you need to find DGC Rarities Volume #1. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And she was like, yeah, go to the record store, look for that, and I guarantee you it's on there. And I was like, sure enough, next time I went to the record store and I went and found that fucking CD, I bought it immediately because it did have Einstein on the Beach.
What is
So,
DGC?
oh, it's their record company.
David Geffen Company.
Oh,
Yeah.
got it. David Geffen Company. Okay, got it.
Oh, dude. But yeah, sorry. You said that and it
No,
reminded me of that story. So,
we're here. We're here for story time, guys. I'm all about story time.
story time.
Story time.
Okay, so like I have this wild theory about the Counting Crows, and they're another story that I want to tell about the
Dude.
90s. This is like story number 3. We still only got to band number 1. They're not on the list. Sorry, Shane. Counting Crows, somehow, when they released that album, they somehow like took the career of like REM, the Spin Doctors, the Gin Blossoms, and Toad the Wet Sprocket, and like just kind of like took the life force of all those bands away. And none of those bands were ever the same, making like Counting Crows style music after August and Everything After dropped.
I will agree.
Okay.
And you know what sucks is that we'll stay on this Counting Crows subject. My problem with Counting Crows is that the very first album it's very popish. It's got a lot of good hooks. It's got all sorts of stuff. And I feel like the older that they've gotten, the more obscure they're getting and the more adventurous they're getting with their music. Because I don't get into it nearly as much as I used to. It's not bad music, and I still enjoy it when I listen to it, but I never get that, oh, I need to put that on kind of moment for their new stuff at all. So
I
So
never
my
listened to
counting.
a Counting Crows song past the time when they covered the Joni Mitchell song for Shrek or whatever. I was done. I was
Yellow
like,
Jacket
peace, dog. Can't do it no
I
more now.
I may or may not get to see the Counting Crows in a couple of weeks. I'm going up to Green Bay for the Green Bay Packers home opener against the Indianapolis Colts. And the Counting Crows on Saturday night are performing a free concert in the parking lot at Lambeau Field. But none of the people I'm going with really want to go to that concert. So I don't know if I will be ending up going to it or not. But I may or may not get to. No, I may or may not get to see the Counting Crows in like 2 weeks. So I'll keep you updated on that because I know you really care.
well, and Adam Duritz has a lot of medical issues, so a lot of times they end up canceling stuff kind of
Oh,
regularly. So good luck. I hope you get to see them if you're going up there. And I hope
yeah.
other people realize how cool it is to go see the Counting Crows, especially when you're not paying any money to go watch them. So
Yeah. So that was kind of my theory too. It's like, and I mean, I've been to like 2 or 3 Counting Crow shows in my life, and they've all been fine, and I like their music enough. But everybody that I'm going with is like, the Counting Crows suck live. They're not a good live band, and I'm like, okay, I'm just along for the ride. Like, if we go, we go. If not, whatever. But I would, if I had the choice, go and see them, especially for free. Troy, what's your next story?
So right now, I think we've made it to about like 1994 is about like the time of period we're talking about.
Okay.
This is the year when I like became fucking cool as shit. Like you guys, like I was just like, dude, like the kids were wearing the Nirvana shirts. So there was grunge was happening. I was just like, I'm not really into this mopey shit. You guys look like slobs. Let's not be that. Um, and so at this time, I got really into like Britpop.
Okay.
Um, and so the next band on my list is kind of like a dual monolith because you can't have one without the other, in my opinion. Um, my favorite of these bands is Blur, but I do
Okay.
not feel like you can talk about Blur unless you talk about Oasis.
I know
they're
both of these bands.
they're like arch rival
Which
hatred.
Oasis is getting back together, we just found out.
Yeah, who gives a shit? Like, do we need more toxic masculinity in the world, dude? They're just gonna end up fighting. Who cares? Anyway, and so if I had to pick a Blur song, I pick Country House off The Great Escape,
Oh, okay.
because it's the most Blur song of all time, and it's the most anti-Oasis song of all time. And I will always take Blur in that fight every time. But I still want to give Oasis their due. Even though the best song and the best album of the Britpop era was Pulp's Isn't Hers and the song Babies. Um,
Don't know that
yeah,
one.
I was into British music a lot in the 90s. I the only Radiohead I like is in the 90s. Um, I love Portishead, Massive Attack. Uh, the next band on my Mount Rushmore, the Sundays. I feel like a lady just need to be represented here. The Sundays only cut 3 albums. All 3 of them were made in the 90s. Have you ever heard the song Summertime? Like, it's
Like,
you and me in the summertime.
oh, that's not DJ Jazzy Jeff.
Nope, that's a different one.
No. Okay. Nah, I don't think I know this one.
Man, the Sundays, it's beautiful music for beautiful people. It's smart music for smart people, and it's pretty music for pretty people. That's it. They're on the list. They still make my top 5 Spotify bands every year.
Nice.
Um, so yeah. What's another story that I want to tell? Um, okay, so about this time, I graduated high school, kind of Blur evolved, right? Like
Okay.
they went from being kind of like a really popish like rock band to a like to the band that made Song 2. And one of the bands that they credited with that was a band called Pavement. You guys ever heard Pavement? Pavement,
Nope.
Touch Your Hair, Gold Sounds. Pavement is the probably most important rock band of the 90s. Pavement set
Jason,
in
have you heard of
motion.
them? Do you know who these people are?
No.
You threw up your fingers like you were rocking out to somebody. I have not ever heard of them.
Um, Pavement set in motion through their attitude, like kind of like the entirety of slacker culture.
Oh,
like 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 a band that was too um cool to give a shit and not really going to put in the effort to be great. And that's kind of what made them great. Um, the influence on bands like the Strokes and the White Stripes and bands like that going forward is like innumerable. The influence on just like the sort of like beta male that was played by like Joaquin Phoenix throughout the 2000s is like an embellishment on like what Stephen Malkmus brought to like the fucking lead singer game. Pavement. Yeah, dude, if you don't know, you don't know.
I don't know.
But yeah, Pavement were pretty great. Pavement and the Beastie Boys were kind of like the coolest shit in the 90s.
Yeah.
Um, it was just kind of like shorthand in the hipster community to let people know it's like, oh no, I'm cool, dude. Like it's like I get good grades and I get high. What's up? Pavement, Beastie Boys, bang bang. Um, and the last story I want to tell,
Yeah.
you mentioned you said something about Jimmy Eat World earlier.
Hmm.
And so I want to tell this story. Um, it's a story about second wave emo, or what they call Midwest emo. And this is kind of how I closed out the 90s. Um, after Britpop just kind of like fizzled, um, Pavement went on hiatus until about like 1999. Um, got really into like the Midwest emo, which is part of, even though Jimmy and World are from Arizona, they still kind of get grouped in. Um, and the thing is that the Midwest emo, the band that was always like in the Spin magazine or in the like radar as like the next big thing was this band from, I think they were from Kenosha or like Milwaukee or whatever. They were called the Promise Ring. I saw the Promise Ring probably like 10 or 15 times just around the Midwest. One of these times was at a bowling alley, the Fireside Bowl in Chicago. I saw the Promise Ring. with a young up and coming band from Arizona called Jimmy Eat World. And they were pretty good. I saw them open up for the Promise Ring again, like a year later at Sudsy Malone's in Cincinnati, a laundromat indie rock bar that
Oh,
was pretty rad. At this point, Jimmy Eat World had gotten a lot better. They had released this album Clarity, which was pretty
Clarity.
good.
Yeah.
The Promise Ring were on their like third album of being the next big thing that was going to happen. Cut forward to like maybe like 2 years later, like I'm at IUPUI. Jimmy Eat World has released it's gonna take some time. The
The
middle.
sweetness. Well, the middle. Yeah,
Yes,
sorry. The middle. Yeah.
Metal.
the middle. Um and Jimmy Eat World is playing at the Murat. I go, I run into a girl that I dated in high school. And you know who the opening act is for Jimmy Eat World playing at the Murat? It's the Promise Ring.
Oh, wow.
Playing their fourth album as the next big thing. And that's how I think of, and that's honestly what I think of when I think of the 90s. And
So here's
90s
a here's
people.
a weird thing. Here's a weird thing it's a story that I was going to tell about Jimmy Eat World that I need to bring full circle with your story. I have memories of listening to The Middle in 1999 when I worked at Clearwater. The problem with my memory and with that story is that Bleed American, which was later retitled as just Jimmy Eat World, was not released until 2001.
Yeah.
So it was released as a single in like the end of 2000. So I don't understand how I have memories of listening to The Middle when I was working at Clearwater in 99, when mathematically, like by when it was released, it was impossible. Um, but yeah, so that's my Jimmy Eat World like thing that doesn't match up in my brain. And again, as I've been honest about, I did a lot of drugs back then, so apparently I just misplaced time and things like that. But yeah, Jimmy Eat World, that Bleed American album didn't come out until 2001.
Yep. It's right around the time Woodwater came out by the Promise Ring. And much like the
um,
Blur Oasis thing, I will probably always take the losing side of that argument. As
really,
much as I like Jimmy Eat World, and as much as Jimmy Eat World seemed like the nicest, most humble guys, even like, because like when you're going to the Fireside Bowl and there's like 200 people, you really get a good sense of like who you're dealing with. Jimmy Eat World seemed like great guys, but I will always rock with the Promise Ring. They were
interesting.
fucking incredible, dude. Incredible second wave Evo band. Paramore thanks you for your time.
All right, so that was great talk from the three of us. Let's look at some of the people that responded on Facebook and listed their four bands, and let's just kind of discuss their four bands for each one of our people. First up, my buddy Albert from California responded with the bands Stained, Disturbed, System of a Down, and Linkin Park. How do we feel about those four bands?
I hate all those fucking bands.
Oh, those words don't surprise me in any way.
Wait,
Mr.
was
Mayor,
System of a Down the one with the guy that had the thing?
I think
Um,
so. I believe it's the guy that passed away here at in Indianapolis.
Was that the bodies hit the floor guy?
I believe so,
Yeah.
if
oh,
I'm
that's not
remembering.
the band I'm thinking of. Never mind.
Am I thinking of the right one?
Dog, I don't know, man. I just know that shit's I don't do hard rock, dog. Like
The
there's
bodies hit
nothing
the floor.
about
That's
there's
Drowning Pool. I apologize. Drowning Pool was the one I was thinking of.
Ah, I got you.
So, um, but yeah,
Down,
whatever.
lead singer.
You got to remember, Albert's a little bit younger than any of us, I believe. Shane, isn't he a couple of years
Yeah,
younger than
yeah,
Troy?
it's like all those bands seem to come from like 1998 and on.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
definitely. Albert's like 10 years younger than me. So yeah, he was maybe
Makes
like
sense.
8 years younger than me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
yes, I mean, like for the time frame and when he was probably in high school and when you're really
Yeah.
getting by your music. That totally lines up. I don't mind Stained. Disturbed. You know what's weird is Disturbed is they're fine as well, but I really enjoy their cover of Phil Phil Collins. Oh geez.
Is it
Uh
in the air tonight?
what?
Is it
No,
in the
no,
air tonight?
no. Hold on, I gotcha. It was the one with the puppets in the music video back in the 80s. Um and it's about the end of the world and everything. Because Ronald Reagan was the one of the puppets. Uh I've got the album right here. Land of Confusion.
Oh,
Their
okay.
their version of Land of Confusion is actually kind of cool. I don't mind that. So, and Linkin Park, they're hit and miss. They had some good stuff. They had some bad. They had just middle of the road stuff for me personally. So, but yeah. So now we've got Nick Joy, who's up next.
Ooh, I'm going to Green Bay with Nick. Nick has a very eclectic, which I was not a fan of. Hootie and the Blowfish. Foo Fighters are obviously on my list, and then I'm baffled by his inclusion of Eiffel 65, a one-hit wonder group as far as I'm concerned. But yeah. I mean, I like three out of these four bands. What are you laughing at?
I didn't know who Eiffel 65 was, and
Like
now
blue.
I know who they are.
Blue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep,
Blue.
yep.
Yep.
So yeah, as far as these go, Hootie and the Blowfish, another one that was made in the late or mid 80s is when they actually formed that rock band. So you can
Really?
put it together with Goo Goo Dolls.
Yeah, that album didn't come out until like 1993. And
It
if we're
doesn't
gonna talk
matter.
about one hit wonders, man, those guys are fucking one hit wonders.
They had a one they had a one album wonder. I'll give you
Yeah, okay, one album wonder. I'm fine. Fine.
but yeah, the Hootie and the Blowfish, I want to say were late 80s because I was sitting there looking it up and I'm like, Goo Goo Dolls was 86
Beauty and
and
the Blowfish came out when I was like a freshman in high school.
so yeah, I but
I'm like,
yeah.
I don't think anybody's ever even heard the Jed album. So like Jed and then Superstar Car Wash, I think was 90 or 91. So like they're close enough, right?
Gotcha. I was just pointing it out, that's all. Foo Fighters, who doesn't like the Foo Fighters? I mean, come on, they're like
Dude, Dave Grohl is a genius on everything he's ever been a part of.
and I won't go that far because Nirvana I think is something and I appreciate Nirvana being a stepping stone for a lot of people, but for overall like I do not like any of the
The
Nirvana crap.
stepping stone for who? Like fucking Dave
Well,
Grohl,
like
like
Dave
Marky Mark.
Grohl, well, yeah, but I mean like Dave Grohl wouldn't have become who he was without Nirvana maybe. And so like I just mean like overall in general like I just think he's done great with what where he's come from and everything else. I can't stand I don't like to speak ill of the dead, but um Kurt Cobain's vocals are crap, man. Like I hate the sound. I hate the mumbling. So, but I was never into grunge really when in the 90s anyway, so but I love the Foo Fighters. The Foo Fighters are great.
Roy, any of these four bands, anything you care about? You have a story about
What
any
was
of them?
what was the first one?
Nine Inch Nails, Trent Reznor.
Oh man, Closer. What a fucking banger.
I'll give you that one. I'm not a big Nine Inch
And
Nails fan, but I'll give you that song.
like the band I played in like very late in the 90s, 99, 2000, a band called Bruce Campbell is Groovy. We used to do a cover of Head Like a Hole by Nine Inch Nails.
They're the fifth band on my list that I had to cut
They
off.
they should be. All the times that we got banned from playing shows.
Why'd you
Cool.
get banned from playing show? Now I want to hear a Bruce Campbell's Groovy story.
We're fucking rowdy, dog.
It just
Why
surprises us.
didn't I ever go to a concert? Why didn't I know about this in '99?
I didn't
We
know you
hang
back
out
then.
with them then.
Y'all didn't know me.
Oh, well, when did Zach start? Okay, I guess like 2001 ish is when I probably started knowing you. Okay, all right, fair enough. All
But
right.
yeah, dude, Nine Inch Nails were a big deal. Kind of weirdly forgotten to time, insofar as like what a fucking big deal they were. Also,
Sure.
since it's a film podcast, man, Trent Reznor, he be rolling out with the score to
Like,
Challengers, the best movie of the
oh,
fucking year. Yeah, Oscars, baby.
dude, no,
Yeah.
no, no, no,
All right,
no.
let's move along. Move along.
All right, let's talk about Chris Schneider, friend of the podcast, been on a couple of times. Chris threw out the bands Aerosmith, The Counting Crows, which was on Jason's list, Hootie and the Blowfish, which we've just talked about, and then Green Day. So between Aerosmith and Green Day, I mean, I guess we touched on Aerosmith a little bit, like Aerosmith, did release a bunch of albums in the '90s. According to Troy, they were on MTV, so they count. But as far as Aerosmith and Green Day go, I mean, does Green Day fall in that same grudge group that you don't like?
I know, man. Dude, Dookie was fire. Uh, that album came out when I was like either in seventh or eighth grade. I don't remember which, but like, dude, yeah, no, man. Basket Case, that shit was good. Nah, man. From okay, the weird thing is like, I know that album came out when I was in junior high. Um, but the thing is like, it's so weird to talk about like music from the '90s, and we're not talking about like Dr. Dre and like Doggy Style and like
So
all
hold
the
on.
things
Here's
that
my
I
thing.
actually listened to in the fucking
Here,
1990s. And I know
here
they're
was
not
my
a band
caveat.
or whatever.
My caveat was it had to be a band. It had to be a lead singer, a guitarist, a drummer. Like it had to be a band, not a rap group, not any
Yeah, and that's cool. But I just feel like that gives such an incomplete picture of like us as individuals and how we experienced the 90s. Because it's
I
like
mean, I
the
can literally sit here and talk about E 1999 Eternal for the next hour if you would like to.
no, the thing about the 90s is like the 90s was like one of the first places where like something like fucking The Chronic would sit right next to something like Nine Inch Nails on like most people's, like almost all the cool kids in high school had both that shit. You know what I
Sure.
mean? Like, you know what I mean? And it's just like, dude, that was like one of those things. It's like, and it's like that was the first time that like shit had like really mixed like that. Like because like pre MTV days and pre like the 90s when MTV was just like all saturation all the time with culture, like there were like genres of music didn't really like mix like that. They didn't like you had your people, and then when you look at like where we ended up in the 2000s, man, and you had like fucking kids that like listen to Garth Brooks also listen to like fucking Eminem now, and it's just like that's all because of like what the 90s did musically and like culturally. So like to leave out half of it just kind of feels a little bit false, and so I thought Green Day might be a good place to intersperse just a little nod to like there was some real rebellion and some real punkishness going on in other parts of the music that we're giving back to you know what would later become what we think of as the rock and roll of the late 90s.
Absolutely, man. I can support that. Jason, you got anything to say about Aerosmith or Green Day?
Aerosmith, fun band. Sad to hear that they can't finish out the way that they wanted to as for their tour. But I mean,
They have to cancel their tour.
yeah, so
Uh,
Steven Tyler had some problems with his throat
mm,
and then went and had surgery and was doing rehab and stuff, and he can't get to where he needs to be able to perform anymore, so they can the rest of their tour.
that
Um,
sucks.
it does,
Favorite
because
Aerosmith song.
I was going to say the other cool, and like you think about Aerosmith, especially in the 90s and all the Alicia Silverstone one,
Crazy,
and
crying,
Crazy.
and
then you think of like freaking
there was a
Armageddon.
third one.
And you think of Armageddon and I mean, like Aerosmith was damn popular. They had a total resurgence in the
I mean,
night.
I mean,
So,
even before the Alicia Silverstones, like in the early '90s, man, they had like the
Living in an
dude looks like a
elevator.
lady and loving an elevator. Dude, loving an elevator is so fucking good. Like that Get a Grip album was fire too. Shit,
Yep. So,
like Yeah, so like that's why I was talking about earlier. I was like, yes, they did a
Crazy,
lot in the
Crying, and
70s.
Amazing.
Yeah, so but yeah, and Green Day, they weren't really my thing, but I can appreciate them. I like their sound actually is something I dig. And they always were trying to change it up enough to keep it somewhat fresh for them. So I always thought that was kind of cool. So
Absolutely. Next up is my buddy Brian Lerman. Shout out to Blend Bar and Cigar or Cigar Bar, whatever it's called. Brian threw out Pearl Jam, which we talked about on my list, Soundgarden, which Troy went on a tangent about, and then we've got Metallica and Alice in Chains on his list. How are we feeling? Jason, I feel like those are really kind of up your alley for the kind of music you listen to in the 90s.
Metallica's another one that like they were an 80s band, really. They started getting really big in the 80s and it just kept it. I mean, 92, 91, 92 is when the Black Album came out, and that was the one that like really popped for them. But I mean, they definitely had, Kill 'Em All, Ride the Lightning, and Justice for All, which were rapping like I guess that would have made I think that was 89 or 90, I can't remember. But yeah, like I was never into Alice in Chains or Soundgarden much. Pearl
Okay.
Jam, we talked on those.
Yeah.
My only thing that I would throw in there is I always enjoyed verses as well. Like
Oh,
with
sure.
so like they were cool enough and they different enough, and you could actually understand what he was saying compared to Kurt Cobain. So
Right on. Troy, you got anything about Metallica or Alice in Chains?
Yeah, you couldn't go anywhere in the 90s without seeing that Unforgiven video for a while. Like,
True.
I was never a Metallica fan, and I think I could sing like long parts of that song just off the top of the dome. Um, uh, Fuck. And then, yeah, Lane Staley could sing too. I should have included him in the Soundgarden Stone Temple Pilots, but Alice in Chains never really did it for me the same way that Stone Temple Pilots and Soundgarden did.
Right
Like
on.
Chris Cornell was the undisputed champion of vocalists in the 90s.
So our last one we have is from our friend Jay Odell. Jay's list are four bands that I absolutely love. They are four bands that I would listen to any day of the week. They are multiple songs of theirs are on my 90s playlist. I would go see any of them live in concert. I literally love all four of these bands. Number one, Jay has Jimmy Eat World, which we've already talked about and how much I absolutely love them. Third Eye Blind is an absolutely phenomenal band from the 90s. Pearl Jam, already on my list, already talked about them. And then Our Lady Peace, which I absolutely love also. Jason, you were nodding your head. I feel like you feel the same way. Troy, you were laughing. I feel like you completely don't agree with us. So let's start with Jason and start with some positives. You love all four of these bands also?
Jimmy World, you and I have seen them twice now. They're awesome band. Love listening to them. Third Eye Blind is always fun, at least. Pearl Jam, we just kind of wrapped up on all that. And then Our Lady of Peace was one of those bands that I was never expecting to like. And
Sure.
then I think you and I saw them in concert at some point in time. You were like, you should just come. And I was like, all right, I got nothing else to do. It was and we were hanging out with a big group of people or something, and we went and saw them, and I was like, actually, that's not too bad. So, enjoyed them a lot. I know I own a couple of their CDs at least. So,
Awesome. All right, Troy, throw it out. What do you hate about all four of these bands?
I actually love Third Eye Blind. I think they're
Oh,
fucking
nice.
awesome. But I can't think about Third Eye Blind without thinking of the episode of 60 Songs That Explain the 90s about
Sure.
Third Eye Blind and about how
Yep. Everybody
seemingly
hates
every
them.
person who ever had a run in with Stephen Jenkins fucking hated him.
Hated them. Yep.
That
That
makes
is a
me laugh.
great episode.
Um, yeah, you should look into yeah, if you haven't done it, I'll listen tell anybody who's listening to this, like you should look into the feud between the lead singer of Third Eye Blind and Rob Thomas, the lead singer of Matchbox 20. It is fucking rad. It is petty. It is two fucking crackers just going at it. Uh, and then Our Lady Peace, I think they're Canadian, so like I automatically just don't give a fuck.
Right on. Well,
It's like
that
the
was
Stanley Club
a
lives in Florida. Go Canada.
Right on, guys. Well, that was a blast. That was a great nostalgic run down memory lane, talking about 90s stuff, 90s bands, 90s music. Troy, thank you for all of your stories that you brought. Thank you for educating me on some bands that I did not know about. Always appreciate having you on.
You
Much
forgot
like,
you
what's that?
forgot our last topic, Shane. What's our last topic?
Oh, I did. Oh, you're absolutely correct. I did forget that. So my last topic that I wanted to ask you guys about, I've kind of talked, I mean, I just talked about how much I loved Creed and how much I enjoyed going to that concert. Um, I want to know like the greatest concert you guys have ever gone to. Like I would probably have to say that going to Creed was my favorite one for all the reasons we talked about earlier. I've had some other ones that I really enjoyed. I saw the Goo Goo Dolls one time that Collective Soul and Soul Asylum opened for them. That was a really awesome show. Like Jason said, him and I have gone to a couple of Jimmy Eat World concerts together that have all been fun. But and I talk about my Pearl Jam concert. My Pearl Jam and my Creed shows were the two that like stick out as my favorite concerts. What's your favorite concert that you've ever been to, Jason? Like just overall the experience, whether it was your favorite band or not, maybe it is. Like what's the greatest concert going experience you've ever had?
It's a tough one. Although I will say, I just because of the sheer awesomeness of them, each is I got to see Elton John and Billy Joel in a face-to-face tour back in 2009. My wife took me to see that at Gillette Stadium. Um, and like so iconic, both of them. And that was pretty awesome as far as just like a personal experience aspect of things. Besides that, I'm trying
Happened
to
if it would have rained that night? Like, how do you refund 70,000 tickets?
You don't. You just literally play it no matter what.
Oh,
Uh,
okay, okay.
the other one, my favorite of all time, though, probably it's not. I kind of can't qualify it just as a concert, though. It was way more like a show, and that was definitely Hugh Jackman's tour that he did, just because like he did everything. He sang, he danced, he was acting on stage. There was all sorts of different things and different aspects to it. And I just dig most of the music that he chose to do for that show. So that's probably my overall favorite. But like I said, it's that was more of a show than just a
Sure.
concert to
So
me.
yeah, like concert wise, like I respect both of those answers that you've given, but like as far as like a band performing a concert, like what's one that sticks out with you for, as far as like that goes?
Oh, uh, hmm.
Like any of your Sister Hazel shows, have any of them been amazing,
Sister
or a Counting
Hazel's
Crows
always
show?
The Sister Hazel ones are cool because of the fact that you're so much, it's in a smaller venue, so it's more intimate, and that's cool. We saw Chris Allen from American Idol fame perform at the High Vi once. That was kind of cool. But as far as like literally, I would have to say if we're going for a band, since we're sticking with that theme and we're going to kick out Billy Joel and Elton John, I'm definitely going to say probably the Rush tour from when they did Vapor Trails. So we saw them over in Cincinnati and we were in like row two or
Oh
three.
wow,
Yeah, so we were second or third row, and that was pretty damn awesome. So
nice. All right, Troy, tell me about a show you went to about a band that I've never heard of, who were opened by a band that I've never heard of, that just sticks out in your mind.
All right. I'm going to tell you about two concerts. One is the best concert I have ever been to, just out of sheer thing. And then the second is probably like the best performance I've ever seen. Um, the best concert I've ever been to, I was a junior in high school. It was a Tuesday night in Chicago. I totally skipped school the next day. I skipped basically like 2 days of school to go up with my cousin to see the band Pulp. Um, Pulp sing the song "Common People." I don't know if you know that song.
Probably not.
British British song. It was like probably like the most like famous British song of the '90s. Anyway, they were at the height of their power. They had just released Different Class. They were on the American tour of that. We saw them at the Metro in Chicago, which was like, it's like a comparable to seeing somebody at the Vogue here. So not only did I get the small venue, I got somebody at the height of their power and the height of their popularity. And it was like a devoted, like, everybody that was there knew like every word to every song, and it was just like wild. Um, However, the band that they chose to have open this band for this shit was some like hippie rock band that like did not wear shoes, and like people were not feeling them at all. And one of the greatest moments of collective like just like angst relief that I've ever been a part of was when the guy in the hippie band, they were called the Drag. I remember that to this day. They were called the Drag. The guy comes out and he's like, "This is our last song," and however many thousands of people there, like, give him a standing fucking ovation. And you should see then the look on this guy's face was just like one of just like fuck you, we didn't ask for this. Like, and then Pope came out and slayed. Incredible, like so much fun, perfect. I was in high school. I shouldn't have been there. It was well past my bedtime. I was on an adventure, and it didn't matter.
That's awesome.
The best experience I ever had, or the best performance I ever had, or ever saw, was weirdly enough a band that I did not give a shit about, in the genre of music I did not give a shit about, in a place that I was not even necessarily supposed to be until earlier in the day. It was at one of the later incarnations of a Lollapalooza. It was the year that like Korn and Limp Bizkit were like the headliners or whatever. And so it was Deer Creek. It was like 2000, maybe even 1999, 1998. I'm not sure. We get out there. One of the signs on the thing says, due to illness, like Limp Bizkit is not going to be able to perform that night. And me and the people we were with, we were like, thank fucking God. We came to see The Prodigy. We came to see like Tricky. We came to see like fucking not fucking Korn and Limp Bizkit. However, one of the bands that was on the thing, they got moved up into the fucking like Limp Bizkit spot as the co-headliner, was the band Tool.
Oh, okay.
I do not give a fuck about Tool to this point in my life. So the guys from Tool come out, and the guy from Tool is dressed in like this pale white makeup. He's got this long fucking like ponytail, essentially, like hanging out, and he has cone boots. Like he is essentially dressed like Madonna from the VMAs. And people are just like, what in the fucking holy fuck is going on? And just as a sort of like fuck you to all the like Limp Bizkit and Korn and like clowns, they come out and they play Sober, like the first song, and they just fucking destroyed it. And so like it turns out that Tool are fucking incredible musicians. Like their singer can wail. I have since kind of become like, I'm cool with Tool. They're not really my cup of tea. I don't really like hard aggressive music. But if I am going to listen to it, it's going to be them, because they are fire. 45 minutes of just like kicking people's ass with like guitars. Like I was just like, dude, incredible. Like, yeah, won over a convert. I was just like, all right, Tool. Now I get why all the fucking weirdos have this T-shirt.
Very
Tool is
awesome.
like Pantera. They're like Pantera for smart people.
Okay. Very interesting comparison there. But that's what I expect from Troy.
And for you
So
kids that don't know anything about the 90s, that are learning about the 90s from us, like Pantera was a band whose music I don't think I ever heard, but whose people who wore their T-shirts I just didn't associate with, because they were volatile and meth heads.
oh, shit.
Thank you.
Okay. The more you know.
There you
Right
go.
on, guys. Well, I appreciate both of you guys being on here this week. It was a blast talking to you, going down. I mean, I love episodes that we do that are nostalgic. I love talking about old shit that I care about, finding out your opinions on stuff, hearing Troy's stories. So yeah, I appreciate both of you guys being on here. I assume that we're gonna do a mid-month episode in September. I have no idea what it'll be about, but we'll get that all figured out down the road. And then we're getting into my favorite time of the year. October has slasher movies, and then Thanksgiving and Christmas movies. So we got 3 or 4 more months, and we're going to wrap up the show at episode 99 at the end of the year. So we appreciate you guys listening, and we will be back soon.
Woo!